Welcome today. This is today's live stream dedicated to professionals in the financial services area serving their clients and those that want to add value that will result in retaining business, earning additional business, and access to the next generation. So be that professional that really cares about what's happening in your client's life. I'm Stacy Golden-Lisnock. I'm founder of Got It Together Now, helping financial services professionals to add value to their clients and add loyalty for generations to come. Today's guest is Lee Atherton. She is an end-of-life coach, grief and resiliency coach. We can discuss how grief is affecting the workplace. So we want to talk to her about how effectively and delicately this can be addressed when the big elephant is in the room.
Right.
Welcome, Lee. Great to have you on today.
Thank you, Stacy. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a few short minutes to touch on a very serious issue. So anyone wishing to speak with you after, they can check in the notes and find your contact information. But first off, I wanted to start to ask, what is grief really? And how can businesses do a better job in the workplace?
Right. So grief is a whole bucket of emotions that we feel after there's been a loss. Although most people think of that as someone close to them has died, a human, that loss also can be a divorce or a loss of a relationship, a loss of your home because maybe there was a fire or a flood. So loss is wide and varied. When I think of how businesses can be most supportive to their employees, and I've asked this of several people, the primary thing that employers can do is acknowledge the loss and not pretend it's not there. Don't treat it like the elephant in the room. People need to be asked, how are you doing today? Don't be afraid to say the deceased person's name. One of the folks I spoke with recently who lost his wife suddenly and tragically commented on how wonderful his direct manager and his colleagues were in terms of checking in every now and then. How you doing? How can we help you? How can we support you? Yeah. But what HR didn't do was any of that. And he felt tremendously abandoned by his company.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So HR really doesn't have the training necessarily, or maybe this was a very small company or something, but do you find that maybe bigger companies have a little bit more training in that area? No.
And really, you don't need specialized training to be effective to support an employee.
Right.
He said certainly 3 days off would not have been enough. He had to use his vacation and such time. And to ask an employer to extend that and still pay is asking a lot. But you might consider, how much do we need this person? Could he or she work from home? What are the ways that we can make it easier? So someone who's grieving is going to have, I talk about grief as riding the white waters. We've all seen a raging river. You don't know when you're going to be going up, going down, hurrying around a bend, ducking your head for a branch in the way.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to set you off. In other words, like you could be perfectly fine one moment and then it just takes over this grief.
Right. Also, some days you might be feeling great and the next day I can't even get out of bed. So just understanding that grief is not easy. It's not something people get over in just a few days.
Yeah.
People need a whole year. And certainly as time goes on throughout that year, the person is going to feel better. But even the flexibility of allowing them, okay, I'm doing good today. I can work extra. Or I'm having such a hard time. Can I leave early? That flexibility of the hours worked.
Right. Yeah. And I understand there's phases, or there's, what do
Yes,
they call? But you don't necessarily go through them 1 through 5 or 7 or whatever. You can keep
absolutely not.
circling back to ones that you had already been through, you thought.
Yeah.
And so it isn't really very dependable to say I'm at this phase of the grief process or so.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So, I mean, in that way, I understand grief could really be debilitating for some people. Like you mentioned, some days maybe you can't even get out of bed. But should the employee attempt to still go to work, kind of force themselves into it if they have this despondent feeling over the loss?
Yes and no. So just like there aren't set stages and times to go through each stage, each person is unique, and the answer would be different for each person. Depending on the job as well. If you're operating heavy machinery, you're not going to want to go to work.
Right.
And so for both the employer and employee, knowing what your role is, whether it's going to be safe to be at work, and how productive you can be. So many folks will say to me, I can go to work. I need to go to work. I've got to get out of the house. But once I'm there, it's so hard to focus. So as the employer, if you're able to let your employee sit at his or her desk, and at times he or she just might be looking, like we call it, the 1,000-mile stare. If you can give that leeway, and keep communication open, the person who has lost a loved one shouldn't feel afraid to say, I'm just having too hard a time. On the other hand, the employer shouldn't be afraid to say, hey, doesn't seem to be working out quite right. We need something different. How can we work this out?
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. I had heard something too, exactly like what you said when you first started. If you have an employee or a coworker who is suffering from grief, you definitely want to approach them and not avoid them. They do feel kind of abandoned if everybody's avoiding them because they don't know what to say. It's very appreciated to say, I'm so sorry, and anything I can do to help, just let me know. I'm here. Or can I get you something? Whatever. It's just like, just don't do that. Oh, there they come. I'm going to go the other way. I don't want it. It's too uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. And along those lines, don't be afraid to say the deceased person's name.
Right.
A lot of people, because we're afraid to, if we say their name, we're going to make them feel so much worse. But it's not saying that makes people feel that their loved one is forgotten, that nobody cares anymore. And when you want to offer to help, see what you can think of. Stacy, you had great ideas. Can I get you something?
Yeah.
Awesome question, but maybe say, can I refill your coffee for you?
Yeah.
You can be specific about what you want to offer.
So on that, the time goes so fast. So we only have a few minutes left. I just want to tell you, financial service providers, that you are in a unique position to change lives for generations to come. But will you do it? Listen in and learn every single week. We're going to have this on at 10 o'clock on Fridays, live streaming. So I just want to sign off right now and just tell you, if you want more information, touch base with me, please direct message me. Have a good day. Bye-bye. And thanks, Lee, for coming on today. Bye.